Hello, Facebook Live. I'm Dan Roshan with the Extraordinary Business Network, and today I am joined with Miss Emilie Kyle. And
Hi
Emilie
there.
Kyle is going to tell us all about yourself. Hello, Emilie. How are you today?
I'm great. How are you, Dan?
I'm well, thank you. Thank you for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
So, Emilie, so tell us. So let's just jump right into this if we could. So Emilie, so you're in business, right?
Yep. Yep. I've got
Okay.
an interior design business, and I'm
All right.
located in Alexandria.
And what's the name of your business?
It's called LUSH Interior Design.
LUSH Interior Designs. Okay, fantastic. So I've known Emilie for several years now, and I know that that you are, somebody that can definitely be trusted and depended on. That's why I invited you today. So Emilie, so tell us a little bit about yourself. So you run an interior design specialist business, and you've been in business for how long?
I'm coming up on my 5-year anniversary in May, so
Ah,
I'm
happy
really
anniversary.
excited. Yeah.
Fantastic. All right. So 5-year anniversary. So what got you involved initially? What made you decide to become an entrepreneur or business owner?
Well, I was an interior designer at some commercial firms previously, and I then took a little bit of a break and went to a residential firm, and they really wanted more business consulting advice, and I found that I was really excelling in that side of things, and so then I decided to just launch my business on my own. I figured I could do it at least as good or better than they were, and so that's how I started.
Okay. So take me down the pathway of the decision-making process, if you recall. So you're working for, at this point, a residential design firm, previously with a commercial, and you realized that you could do it better than they could, or at least as good or better.
hmm
And so what was your thought process back then? Do you recall?
Um, there was a lot of deliberation between the time that I was at the commercial firm and I took a little bit of a break. Commercial interior design is very intense and it's pretty arduous. You do a lot of the same things just over and over again. And I took a break and decided that maybe residential would be somewhat easier. And so I applied at a couple of places, and this other firm hired me to consult for them. And then once they landed their first big client, they hired me on. And essentially, we had major ethical and professional differences, and I couldn't stand by that. So I went off on my own.
Got it. So that's fantastic. So 5 years into the journey, are you still
hmm
glad you did it?
Yeah, yeah. It's
Okay.
like it's like floating without a net or jumping without a net or a parachute. And so it always feels very risky, but
Yeah.
knowing that I can depend on myself, I think is probably one of the best things to sort of be able to reassure myself of and prove to myself over and over and over again.
Got it. So jumping off without a net and risky, but understanding that you've got the self independence to rely on your own efforts rather than other efforts. Is that what I'm
Yeah.
hearing you say?
Yep. Absolutely.
All right, cool. So Emilie, so speaking of that, so I'm sure that maybe I'm being presumptuous here, but has there been some challenges along the way ever?
Ever. Just like once.
Yeah, just tell us about that one challenge.
um,
Tell us about a challenge that you can think of, one that would be significant to you, something that you're willing to share. Would you be willing to share one?
Yeah, absolutely. I think in business ownership, there's a lot of challenges, even just in I'm a trained interior designer. That's what I went to college for. I didn't go to college for business. We did take a business course in college, but it was not business ownership, and it was certainly not business ownership of an interior design firm, which is kind of unique in and of itself.
Okay.
So I would say partially finding the right people and finding the right team has been a challenge. There's a lot of throwing the spaghetti at the wall and seeing what sticks. And sometimes you win some and sometimes you lose some.
Okay.
And I would say that the people that you can kind of get to be on your team in that close circle, those people are invaluable. So like my bookkeeper, even my fiance is a really good advisor of mine. my CPA, my lawyer, things like that. Those people they're there for me, so those are the people that, I give them money and they want to see me do well. So they always have a lot of really good advice and that kind of thing. At the same token, employees are kind of difficult to come by. So I would say a lot of it is people, in terms of challenges. And I think that's pretty, I wouldn't say that's industry wide, but I think that's pretty widespread across many, many industries from what I can gather, just talking to other business owners.
Okay, so what I heard you say, Emily, is having that cadre of vendor resources, of trusted vendors like CPAs, attorneys, Jeff, your fiance, and others has allowed for you to be able to establish yourself would you consider yourself a small business? Yeah, I would. Okay. All right. So to allow for you as a small business owner to be able to establish yourself in, you like me, you don't necessarily have the resources to go out and hire an attorney on staff, right? So having those vendors, so I hear that that's a real critical thing. And then I heard you say that hiring employees is a little bit of a challenge. Is that right? Yep. Along with even vendors that you rely on to, bring in on projects and things like that. So yeah. But so how have you overcome these challenges in the past? What lessons did you learn? I would say a lot of those initial conversations. So conversations like you and I are having right now to get to know each other a little bit better, but kind of digging in a little bit more. So beyond that first conversation and really being able to define and get buy-in from that vendor or that other person in what you're doing and why you're doing it, and even how you're doing it and how that affects, maybe how that affects the client if we don't follow the same process across the way, across the board from client to client to client. So culture, like not only can you do the job, not only can you do it well, but understand, like we match in our ways of thinking. Is that accurate? Absolutely. Yep. Okay. All right. Yep. Have you done that before where you had a mismatch? Yes, absolutely. And it doesn't end up being great for anyone involved. Doesn't end up being great for anybody involved. Okay. Yeah. If you were a business owner, I mean, you are a business owner. If you're a business owner watching this and you're in a place where you're hiring, so it seems like you've had some successes and then some opportunities to learn. Would that be accurate? Oh yeah, absolutely. Okay. So if you're a business owner watching this right now and you're considering the hiring, or maybe you've hired before and you've had some challenges, what advice would you give to a business owner that's hiring maybe for the first time or the 15th time and it hasn't quite got it right yet? Do you have some advice for them? Well, I wouldn't say that I'm necessarily a good hirer just based off of my track record. So, again, I went to school for interior design. I didn't go to school to hire people, but I've definitely done a lot of research on hiring, and I've read a lot of books and articles and taken courses and things. And I do know that digging in further really does help. So asking those tough questions, and the old saying is hire slow, fire fast. And so it's really easy to kind of slip into a relationship that you really don't know that much about because you're all excited about it. And I think if you can dig into some of those deeper questions, you can get a little bit more information about what this person is about, what their own values are, to kind of see if there's an alignment across that culture that we were just talking about. So, that's what I would say is dig in and don't be afraid to have more than one conversation with someone, because, I interviewed someone to be an admin assistant of mine a couple of years ago, and I found out in about 30 minutes that she was not going to be a good fit. And it was just because I kept on asking her more questions. And it probably would have taken me about 2 months or so of on-the-job time for me to figure out that she was not going to be a good fit. Yeah, that's fantastic. Thank you for sharing that, Emily. Do you have an example when you say dig in, dive deep? Do you have an example of the type of questions that you would ask? Like if you were interviewing me for your administrative assistant, for example, by the way, bad idea, just so you know. Okay. But if you were interviewing me, what type of questions would you ask, and how would you dig deep in that conversation?
I would have questions that are already pre-printed that pertain specifically to that job.
Okay.
And I would probably ask about a specific job that you had before, or specific position, what you did in that position, who your manager was, what they would say about you, and challenges. So wins as well as challenges, and then how you dealt with those challenges or that project or whatever. And then find out a little bit more information and dig a little bit deeper. Tell me a little bit more. Tell me a little bit more. So you're digging into me and finding out that I'm not a very good hirer, but it's the same kind of thing where it's like, these are mistakes that I've made and I definitely have learned from them.
So Emily, tell me more about that. No, I'm just joking. I'm just going to dig deeper on it. I think we got deep there. All right. So what I heard you say was looking for a record of success, and then dig deep, dig deeper, dig deeper, hire slow, fire fast. That's what I got from like summing up. Is that a good summation?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, cool. Well, thanks for sharing that. So tell me about, so that's sort of maybe, where you've had some opportunities in business. What about some successes? Tell me about one or two successes that you've had.
I always think that project referrals are a really good success. So projects that have been really successful, they may have had hiccups along the way. I work in construction, so there's bound to be, something hiding behind a wall that has to be repaired or that's beyond the scope of work, really. And having understanding clients that that do take that into account, like obviously that thing behind the wall wasn't my fault or the contractor's fault or anybody's fault, really. But being able to kind of smooth that over and finesse the situation, move on, and then when they end up with a really good project, getting a referral from that client, I think is a huge win. And that's happened, fantastic. And I love that.
Give me an example, a little bit specific if you can. If you're not able to share specific details, that's okay. You can be vague about the property or whatever. But I found this client. How did you find them? What type of project was it? How did you help them? Walk me through that journey if you don't mind.
Sure. So I was in a Bni chapter in Alexandria, and the mortgage broker in our group referred me to a friend of his at a fundraiser event.
Well, excuse me 1 second. Explain to us what Bni is, because some people may not know that. Just excuse me for a second.
Sure. It's Business Networking International, and it is I guess it's kind of a conglomerate of different chapters all over the world. And the chapters are comprised of about 10 or more people, each in different industries. And they meet at least once a week, and then they often meet one-on-one outside of the chapter to get to know each other better.
All right, cool. All right, so sorry for interrupting. Yep. So you were saying mortgage lender in your Bni group?
Yep, he introduced me to a gal that he thought I should be connected with at a fundraiser, and we connected. I did a little presentation to her Girl Scout troop that her daughter was in, kind of a career day thing, and didn't think really anything of it. And maybe 6 months later, I get a call from her friend, and she said, "Hey, so-and-so introduced me, and we ended up doing a project with that gal, and that was about 1.5 to 2 years, and that was maybe a year ago, and I just got referred to one of her friends."
And that's fantastic. So I'm going to ask you a follow-up question on that. Before I do that, I want to just make sure I understood you correctly. So basically, you networked, you got to know people with the intention of being able to figure out how to help each other. Then you did a presentation at a Girl Scout troop, which is certainly something that you're helping young ladies in mentoring and sharing with them, some of the lessons that you've learned. And then as a result of that, you get a great referral. And then as a result of doing fantastic on that job, you get another great referral.
Yep.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's the way to make it work, right? That's freaking fantastic.
And it's more fun that way too. It's not like you have to, send out 1 million emails, and follow up and bother people like, hey, are you ready for that project? Or are you ready to do that kitchen remodel? Or, are you ready for this project? It's just kind of like it happens naturally. And it's like, there's nothing better.
Okay. So I do want to ask you a follow-up question to that. So what was the project?
It was a condo project. So it was a residential condo. And it initially just started off as a flooring and furnishings project. Shortly after, I gained the client's trust enough to be able to help them visualize their space bigger. It was more
This was a condominium association, is that correct?
It was not an association. This was just one individual condo.
Okay.
But I do work on multifamily residential.
Okay. All right.
And it was a small condo, and it was really choppy and cut off. And it was, Emily, if this was your place, what would you do? And I was honest. I said, I would tear down this wall. I would open this all up, burn it to the ground. And so she said, okay, well, let me talk to my husband about it. And that was a Friday. By Monday, they said, okay, we're ready. Take down the wall. Let's do it.
That's fantastic.
So, yeah. And then it turned into their whole house.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you. So, Emily, we're gonna start finishing up here just a little bit. A couple of things and this is really useful. I appreciate you being authentic and really diving into, because this is going to be useful for other business owners. If there was, let's see, the 20-year-old Emily telling the 25-year-old Emily today one piece of advice, you didn't chuckle at my joke.
Oh yes, the 25 yes.
Yeah, that's okay.
I'm pretending.
Okay. All right. If you were going back 5 years ago and you were sharing a piece of wisdom with yourself, a piece of advice, something that you've learned along the ways, what would that be?
I would say, don't be as timid about putting yourself out there, and really go for what you're after. When I first started my business, I started doing staging just because it was something that I had familiarity with before, but it was also the first thing that I wanted to get rid of in my business, because I was like, this is not really where not really my wheelhouse. I'm really good at it, but this isn't really what I want to be known for. And so I, shifted as quickly as I could, back to what I know, which is commercial interior design. So I still take, high-end residential remodels and that kind of thing. But my focus now is really commercial. And so that's what I was trained in. That's what my experience was in. That's what I'm good at. And so I would say really focus on what you want and go after that, versus kind of, I know that sometimes you have to pay the rent or the, whatever, but, and sometimes you have to take stuff that you don't necessarily want. But I would say that really hone in and focus on what you do want to do, and have that be the thing that you talk about all the time, and get out there.
Find out what your passion is, what your joy is, what you love doing, and then just dig deep on that.
Yep.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. Who's a great referral for you? Who's a gold? Well, two questions. Let me start here first. Excuse me. Who's a golden goose for you? And then I'm going to ask who a specific great referral is for you. So the golden goose is somebody that you could get tons and tons and tons of referrals from, and I know that you're going to be helping them. And then who would one of those great referrals be from that golden goose?
Sure. I would say that there's sort of two golden geese. One would be a commercial real estate broker, and I can help them by doing test fits and helping their lessees get into space, as well as redesign the space that they're moving into and get it, set up for the way that they want it to be. And that includes going through permitting and all of that. And then the second one would be a property manager of a condo association or condo building.
Okay.
Yeah.
So a commercial broker, and you can help them with test fits. You can help them through that process. And a property manager of a commercial building. Those would be two golden geese for you. Is that right?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. And who would be a great client for you? Who would they refer you to?
Well, the building ends up being a really good client for me, or the homeowners association that the property manager is in charge of ends up being a really good client, because every few years finishes and rooms need to be redone. So the lobby needs to be redone, corridors, elevators, party rooms, gyms, fitness centers, pool houses and other ancillary rooms, those all need to be done every few years. So kind of being in the roster of having already done it, you're probably going to get called on again to work on the project again and on the building with the homeowners association and the committee and the board again in the future.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Last question.
Yeah.
How can I get in touch with you?
You can email me at Emilie@lushinteriordesign.com. And my name is spelled Emilie. Or you can reach me on Instagram at LUSH Interior Design LLC. Twitter is at LUSH Interiors, lushinterior.com. I'm on all the social. So if you type
Just
in
search for LUSH, right?
Yep. And not the one in Singapore.
Well, I'm not gonna see what you're referring to. So tell me that the name and phone number one more time in case you didn't catch that.
Sure. My phone number is 571-970-4853. And the email address is Emilie, Emilie, at lushinteriordesign.com.
Awesome, Emilie. Thank you so much. And I really appreciate you being a guest today. If I can ever help you, please let me know.
Awesome. Thanks, Dan. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.